Bullying has been a problem that America has faced for a very long time. However, the bullying itself is not the most serious part of the aforementioned problem. The biggest part is that people are uneducated and ignorant towards bullying, and that needs to change if we are going to put an end to it. So the biggest part of understanding the problem that America has with bullying is you have to understand why bullying happens. You have to understand that there's things that make it happen. It doesn't just automatically happen, and it's so shocking as to why it happens. No, the poor parental supervision of children causes it. The lack of consequences for bad behavior. If your child is clearly acting out and you're just not punishing them, not showing them that it's important to behave, that can cause serious problems in the future for not only your child but children that it comes in contact with. Lack of proper anger management is a big thing as well. Your child clearly has anger issues, and you don't seem to do anything about it. He takes that anger out on other things, which later on in life can include children that are weaker or more vulnerable than himself. So the history of bullying is another thing that's important to understand to really get to the bottom of bullying. And so bullying was first publicized as bullying in the mid-1970s, and it was originally associated with the death of the victim, which is, we've come a long way since then. And before 1970, however, bullying behavior was just considered common misadventures among the schoolboys. So they just figured it was natural, and that there's nothing that should or could be done about it. If you look at the presentation that I've prepared, so to bully, as described in the dictionary, is to seek to intimidate, coerce, or manipulate somebody who's perceived to be less vulnerable than yourself. Bullying has been a huge problem, not only in children, but it happens in all ages, as the graphs, or first let's talk about what bullying looks like. So, bullying doesn't have to just be the physical beating each other up. It could be physical, it could be verbal, or as you see here, this adult is having trouble with, the things that he has to deal with. So bullying doesn't just pertain to children, it can pertain to all ages. Another big thing about bullying is that it's not strictly physical, in-person coincidence. It could be like, it could be online, cyberbullying and stuff like that. People are kind of ignorant towards cyberbullying. They don't think that it's a real thing. It doesn't really happen. But if you check out some of the graphs that I've provided, this graph down here shows all the social media platforms that cyberbullying occurs on. As you can clearly see, Facebook is taking the lead, which is ironic since most people think that Facebook is for old people and children of this generation don't really use it. But as that graph shows, that's clearly not the case. Another misconception about bullying is that it happens just within, groups of females, or females are more targeted than males are. And again, this graph right here shows you that that's not the case. Obviously this graph shows there are more female victims, but it's clear to see that the other numbers are pretty much equal as to the bully, as like who is doing the bullying, who is the bully, who has been a bully victim, stuff like that. This graph right here shows the negative effects of bullying. So the biggest one obviously is negative self-image. The victim starts to lose confidence, lose faith in themselves. Another negative effect is trouble with relationships. So people can't really develop good friendships or relationships among the opposite sex or the same sex because they have so much trouble fitting in. And again, that ties back to having a poor self-image. They don't trust themselves. They don't believe in themselves enough to build a proper relationship. And finally, physical health problems. So there have been many ways that children have dealt with bullying that can cause physical harm to themselves, suicide being the biggest one. But there are other steps too, such as, self-harm, ways of harming themselves, such as cutting, and things along that line. Um, so this chart right here shows the grades that bullying does the most, like is done the most, and you can see here that third grade and ninth grade are the biggest ones. So it's kind of like it happens not just to children, but it can happen to young adults as well. And it's the transition stages. You're first starting to get into the middle school thing, or you're just starting to get into high school, and you're experiencing bullying. So if you see any signs of stuff like that in your child, you should, take a step to either try and talk to them, or find a way to help them out if they don't want to talk. Some solutions for bullying for the children is to remove themselves from the situation. Try to teach your child to, not just let stuff happen to them, kind of force their way out of such situations, or to talk to a trusted adult. As a parent, be someone that your child can turn to. Don't if your child starts to talk to you about being bullied or something along those lines, don't just brush it off or blame it on them for being too soft. For other kids that are witnessing bullying, be an upstander. So don't just stand by and let it happen. Say something, tell somebody, step in if you have to. And the biggest thing is to listen and support your children. If a child is going through bullying, they need to understand that there are people there for them, and it's not just them by themselves. Another big thing is prevention programs. This picture right here is a flyer. It also has a few stats on it. 77% of students are bullied. Over 14% of high school students have considered suicide. 7% have actually attempted it. And this one right here, there are at least 100 attempts for every suicide among young people. So flyers like this help spread the message that bullying is still a very big problem, but it also helps to show people that there are people that are there for them. You can attend these events, and you can talk to people that have either been where you've been or know how to handle it. And a big part of prevention is having more things like this where kids can really understand that they're not alone. So bullying is a problem that may never be completely solved, and unfortunately there will always be people that don't care, people that bully, and people that are prejudiced. We need to understand that bullying exists at all stages of life, and as an adult we need to stand up for not only ourselves but our children and others. While we may never be able to stop bullying, we can slow it down. We can make sure that the statistics are lowered, that the curve flattens, and we can guarantee that not every child will end up being a victim of bullying.